My name is Valerie Toledo. I go by Valerie when I make music. And this is the EPK for Within the Confines of You, my first album. No one in my family really was into music. I was always like the nerdy one. I really liked school. I liked getting good grades. I loved to read, things that weren't really so popular when I was in elementary school. I remember I went into the 6th grade with like really long hair, kind of like how I have now, and glasses, and I was all nerdy and weird. And I remember for the talent show, I think the week before the talent show, I cut my hair, I got contacts. So it was like this moment of transformation for me. And I think I sang You Belong With Me by Taylor Swift. And suddenly, people that didn't really talk to me were my friends, were trying to be my friends. Even some of the bullies were like, wow, you're pretty good, And so it was like this moment of transformation for me. And I realized that music was power. Music was a place where I could be somebody else. I didn't have to be that shy, insecure person. I felt very secure when I sang. I felt very confident, even if I was scared. I just felt like somebody else. So I liked that feeling and I stuck with it. I had always liked writing music. I always wrote like poems in my little journal when I was little. And all throughout high school and college, I had been writing songs, but really to no end. I sat down at the piano and I wrote this song called Anchorage. And I really liked it. And I showed it to a friend of mine, Catherine, and she was like, you should get this produced and make it into a real song. My friend Max produced Anchorage. He was the first person to produce any of the songs that you hear on the album. I remember going to him and saying, hey, listen, I have like 11 more songs. Do you think that you want to produce the rest of the album? And he was like, absolutely. But 2 weeks later, he actually found out that he was going on tour with Taylor Swift. So he was no longer available to do that. But he put me in touch with one of his really good friends, Lucas Morelli, who produced all the songs that you hear on the record. And I remember when I put the headphones on and I heard the first draft of the song, I was like, oh my God. Like, I had no idea that this little piano ballad that I had written could have transformed into something so otherworldly. And that was the moment that it became real for me. And I was like, wait a minute, I might be able to bring something greater than just some songs in my journal to life. And so I looked back at what had been, at that point, almost 10 years. And I looked at all the songs I collected and I realized I had 12 songs and I had an album. So I'm a person that really likes to find just a narrative in my experience. I like to learn from it that way. And I remember looking at the 12 songs that I had written, and I remember thinking, there is a story here of love and loss and of drowning and feeling like you're at your lowest point and feeling suffocated by that, feeling trapped by that. But there's also a story where after all that suffocation, I come up out of the water. I reach for air and I breathe again. And that was the first inkling of what would become Within the Confines of You. I guess I didn't really like the sound of my own voice. And I remember telling Lucas, like, I really wanted to hide behind production. Like, I wanted to hide behind just certain elements of the songs. And I remember him challenging me and saying, I want to bring out your voice. I want to use your voice to tell that story that you want to tell. And that actually became part of like the arc of the album. You can actually hear my voice become clearer and clearer and clearer throughout the songs if you listen in order. So I remember just being really surprised that by the end of the album, I had found my voice. I had found how to communicate with my vocals in a way that felt like authentic and real. And while I was, mixing and recording, I was living actually some of the emotions But I think the big stress was the feeling of like, okay, I'm gonna record this, we're gonna mix it, we're gonna produce it. I knew I needed to tell the story. I knew that I needed to put it out into the world, but I was really scared because I had never allowed myself to be seen that way. I wrote the story of the songs before I finished the songs. And this helped me to stay really honest while I was finishing the songs. I just saw something in my head. I saw the story of this character who goes on a journey and who kind of goes through all the things that I described, the emotions I described on the record, and what the fantastical representation of that looks like. It was always very larger than life to me. So the album starts off with the song Anchorage, which is almost like a prologue, almost like a preface to the rest of the music. It recounts this feeling of being stuck between two realities, two choices, and losing yourself. Anchorage, Titanic, Rooms, 1945. We follow this feeling of what came before Anchorage, right? A relationship that I had had and friendships that I had had that had left me feeling like I was drowning, like I didn't know myself, like I had lost a lot. And I felt like I was underwater. I felt suffocated by just this like great big weight, and I didn't know how to swim. But it's kind of the feeling with the first 4 songs of the record. And then you hit Funny Girl, and that's when things start to change. Funny Girl is a turning point. Funny Girl is this moment where in the music you can hear me allow myself to be helped and to be loved. And so it's optimistic, right? And so it's the moment where I'm pulled out of the water by this character in the music named Santiago. And I'm sort of allowing myself to be vulnerable and to trust again and to learn a better way to love and to express myself. And so that's kind of like what you see. And so that's what you see on Funny Girl and on The Villain. It's almost like an opening up. It's this tender new beginning. And so after that opening up and that vulnerability and that new opportunity to love again and to maybe find something new, the songs really become about recounting the past and recounting, I call it the villain arc, recounting the good, the bad, and the ugly of my experiences through Bicycle and through Newfound Dream and through Rebecca, Let's Get Coffee. And you're kind of just getting the honest truth of who I am. And then there's a question, will you love me knowing all this? Knowing this is who I am, this is who I was before you knew me, and this is what led to that moment. The album ends with optimism, with reflection, and with making a choice to push forward despite the sufferings and the wounds of the past. And that culminates in Roses, Jesus Wept, and Things My Lovers Gave Me. I think the real transformation was in ignoring that voice that tells you you shouldn't say that, you shouldn't put that out there, you should hide. Ignoring the voice that has always kept me shy and sheltered, that I've always listened to. I think not so much turning off the fear, but understanding that the fear will always be there, the fear of failure, the fear that somebody's not gonna like what you say, the fear that it's not gonna go the way you planned it. But music is powerful, and I say that music is power because like any creative art, it puts the pen in your hand. And I think there's a reason they say that the pen is mightier than the sword. It is a space where you can choose what you want to say and how you want to say it in a very detailed and precise way. And I recognize that everyone has a different approach to music, but for me, it's one of the few spaces where I feel in control of what I want to portray. And I know that no matter how people view it or how I'm perceived, I will have said what I want to say in the way that I want to. So for me, this album represents a break from the confines, both as a retelling of like my actual experiences, but from the confine that I can't put out music, that music and anything creative is something best left as a hobby, best left aside, and that my voice, that I should keep it hidden. It's been my chance to speak up and to be myself and to tell my story without wavering and without qualification. I'm working on new music. I'm working on a second album, actually, following the same characters and some new characters as the visual album, actually. This album explores the ego, the idols we make for ourselves, and how idols aren't just things, they are desires, wants, things we covet outside of the material world. We might covet acceptance, we might covet approval, we might covet admiration. And so I'm really excited to explore that and keep exploring that, and to push the limits of what a concept album can be, being even more theatrical, dramatic in my approach. If you thought the first one was crazy, you haven't seen anything yet.